Okay. Have you ever thought about, there's this thing, never say die, never say never. But we've got today our author guest that I have today, Ann Charles. She's written a book series called Deadwood Mystery Series. And the book she's currently has out is called Never Say Sever instead of Never Say Never in Deadwood. I just love the title. I think it's a lot of fun. But we're going to be talking to Ann in just a second. She's a USA Today bestselling author, writes spicy stories full of mystery, comedy, adventure, suspense, romance, and supernatural mayhem. When she's not dabbling in fiction, she's arm wrestling with her two kids, attempting to seduce her husband, and arguing with her sassy cats. So let's welcome Ann. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm excited to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Before we got started, we were talking a little bit about bios, and I was talking about how, a lot of people's bios, and, sorry, people, but it's true. A lot of, I'll put myself into the same category, are kind of boring, and yours, you did spice it up. You spiced up that bio. So just a little bit about that. And, the things in your bio, as far as the arm wrestling, who wins? Boys.
Oh, boys, come on. My son is strong. He's 16 and now we use him all the time as the muscle. Come on, muscle, let's lift this, let's put those muscles to work. You build them, you feed them all their lives. So you build up that machine. It's like, come on, tough guy.
That's right. That's why. Does he like that? Or does he feel like he has pride in the fact that you're asking him to do these things?
He does. His dad is 6'4" and he's getting closer to his dad's height all the time. So yeah, it's good for him he likes to feel like he's doing stuff. And then I always say, come on, you can lift more than your old little mom, can't you? And,
oh my gosh.
And then he's like, yeah.
Nothing like taunting them too.
I know.
Make them want to do something, right? Especially those boys. Oh, they're really funny that way. And how you have sassy cats. So what is a sassy cat?
They talk and talk and talk. They come in and how each one has their own personality, of course. But yeah, they're mouthy. They're fun. They have some attitude, but yet they're sweet as can be. So I love dogs too, but we have cats because we travel so much, and it's much easier to have someone take care of cats. And they can go a weekend a lot of times with just food and water, so we can go for a weekend. So until maybe one of our kids is older and staying home all the time, then we can maybe get a dog. But for now, we just have lots of cats.
And I hear you on that because my husband, he's going to go visit a friend in October, and I was invited to speak at an event in October. So I said, when are you going to go visit him? Because we got to coordinate the dates so that there's somebody here with the dogs instead of kenneling them, because we really don't like kenneling them. But that is so true. I mean, we love our dogs so much, but that's the only drawback, I would say. I don't know. There might be others. But this morning I had this piece of bacon that I was eating. And yes, I'm a meat eater. I was eating a piece of bacon and I went like this. I went like, just kind of like moved it like this. And my dog went, and I said, oh, this would be kind of fun. Let's do it. Let's do like a little game. Let's make a TikTok video. And nobody will see that I've got bacon and say, hey, do you like mama?
I have one of our cats. He's a newer one we just picked up this summer on the road traveling home, and he loves raw meat, of course, and anything meat. But I'll take a big piece of raw hamburger, like we're getting ready to make hamburgers or something, and I'll go, oh, hey, Loki, look, and I'll pretend to pick up the raw meat chunk and eat it. Oh man, he just goes nuts. Like, no, let me it's so funny to watch him do it, the way he reacts to that. So
like that's taunting. The last piece of meat on earth, right?
Exactly. No, let me have it. Don't eat all that meat, human. Yeah.
Human. I'm in charge here. He's
probably going, you guys aren't even supposed to be eating meat. Your teeth aren't like mine.
That's right. He might be right. But whatever, we do.
We do. Yeah.
So let's talk about, first of all, I didn't realize you have so many. I know we're talking about the Deadwood series of books today, but you have so many different series of books. I'm going to put this on the screen so people can see what you have going on, because there's so much to you, right? You have so many different levels. And I first of all, I love your titles. We have the Deadwood Undertaker. So which is first, Deadwood Undertaker or Deadwood? Which came first?
Deadwood series. Well, I actually started writing the The Dig Site series was the very first one I wrote, but I didn't publish that first. And then I wrote a couple of Jackrabbit Junction series, but I didn't get those published. And then I went to the Deadwood series, and that was where I started publishing, was with Nearly Departed in Deadwood, the very first one, book one.
Okay.
That was, if you go up just a little, that's the Deadwood shorts. Right there's Nearly. So that's the first one that I actually published back in 2011. And Optical Delusions right above it came close right after. So then I started putting out some of the Jackrabbit series I'd written, and then, added in Dig Site, and then the Deadwood Undertaker series, which is what I write with my husband. We write that one together. That's same world as the Deadwood series, only back in 1876, 77. So you get Old West mixed with some of the mystery / supernatural humor. So that's the one it's Western, but yet it's still humor and, like I said, supernatural, mystery, all the mixed together stuff with just Western added in.
Okay. Your husband's name is Sam Lucky?
That's his writing name.
Oh, okay. I was like, how could his parents name him that? Just kidding.
No, I know. Wouldn't it be awesome? I wish my last
gosh.
name was Lucky. That would be awesome.
I know, and Lucky. And you can just change it. I think just go out there and change it.
Just change it to that.
This is cool. How do you write the book together? Do you say, okay, today is writing chapter 1, let's go off and write our own thing? Or do you sit there and brainstorm it and then come up with something together? How do you do that together?
We brainstorm, the story and the chapters ahead of time and the scenes, and we come up with, the whole scene and sequel type of layout. And then he goes forth and he goes first and he writes the first run through of the stuff. And then I come through when he's done and do my part in the building of the story and blend in with him. We work more to blend our voices than have, the uniques, each voice unique. It's more of a blending of the two of us, like duet singing, when you blend your voices.
Okay. Do you want to try to sing something right now? Just kidding.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I have no voice.
Okay, well, so let's skip that then. Okay, that is really interesting. How long have you been writing? Because I know earlier you were telling me that it's not like you started writing at 3 years old and you've been writing forever. So what's your story on how you got into writing?
Well, I didn't start writing until my mid-20s. And the reason I started writing at that point was because I had read a book and I didn't love the ending. And I had a different idea for how the ending should go. So I wrote the ending that I wanted. And I liked that better. And I liked the feel of that. So I thought, well, now I'm going to try writing a whole book that I'd like to read. And so I did that. And I still have it because I wrote it by hand on notebook paper. And it's pretty crappy. But I wrote clear to the end and I finished it. And then I thought, oh, okay, so maybe I'd like to keep practicing this to make it better. And in the meantime, I did submit that first story, the synopsis and the first few chapters to some publishing houses and was rejected. But one of them in particular was very kind and said, you show potential, don't give up, keep trying. So I listened to him and I kept going. And it's slowly, that was back in the early 90s. And then from about mid 90s to mid 2000s, I was going to school. I was working full time. I was having 2 kids, but I still kept writing and learning about marketing and trying and building, my craft, building, all that together, so that after my daughter was born in 2007, I just decided, okay, now it's time. It's time to really push hard on this and try to get books into the hands of publishers, an agent and the whole thing. So it was really going by then. And I made it. I was working with a big publishing house, one of the big ones in New York, and it went all the way up through editorial. They loved it. They were wanting to acquire, but it made it to acquisitions final meeting with marketing, and marketing said, there's no audience for this book set in the Midwest. That was Nearly Departed in Deadwood. So they rejected it at that point, which was pretty heartbreaking. I had the second book written by them waiting for the contract. So then it was 2010, end of 2010, and ebooks were really getting going on Amazon and other vendors. So decided to go forth without a big publisher, and try the indie route. And I did start a publishing company way back when with my agent, and we did that for a few years, but then it got so busy that I had to step out of that and just become an author, because I just couldn't keep up with both. And in the end, being an author is what I wanted to do more than be a publisher.
Wow, that's awesome. Congratulations first on keeping on going, because that one person wrote back and said you got potential and you heard that heard it sounds like you heard it loud and clear, to
Yeah.
keep going. But now look, I mean, so many books. How many books have you published? Because
So with the 4 in the co-written series, the Deadwood Undertaker series, I'm now up to 32.
32 books. And how often do you write? Like, are you one of those who writes every day, no matter what, or do you write only when you're inspired? Like, what's your formula?
I don't write every day. I wish I did, because once you're in the groove, you think, don't stop. You just write 100 words a day, keep going. But I always take a break after a book. What really inspires me is I'll set my own deadlines. I work with a professional editor, so I'll get her on the line and get a date set. So now I have a hard date of when I have to have this book done and polished and ready to go through the editing stage. So that really sets me onto a course. And I'm really good at, once I set a date, I'm gonna, go without sleep, whatever I need to do to hit that date. Because I don't like to, make schedule something and then keep, saying, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do it now. Oh, I don't have it ready yet. I don't like to do that to anybody. It's just the way I am. So once I tell my editor when it's coming, I like to deliver, because she has to make room on her schedule. So I really respect that they have schedules too. And I shouldn't delay, and expect her to just drop everything to get me in there. So that's really, I'm really motivated by deadlines that are self-imposed. And I do that in many, parts of this business that I run. And sometimes it drives people nuts, because it's really not a hard set deadline. I've done it, but it really keeps me going. So I have to keep, staying true to those deadlines I make.
Yeah, that's good, because I know a lot of people have challenged, doing that. Is, those self-imposed deadlines. I
Mm.
know that I had to teach myself how to do that, because at the beginning I couldn't. I would say I couldn't. I could do anything. So
Yeah.
couldn't doesn't work, but I didn't. I just wouldn't. I
Right.
wouldn't meet, like, anytime I would set a deadline, I would just keep pushing it out and out and out, and then not accomplish it. And
Right.
I think I learned that from my dad, because he was a starter and my mom was a finisher.
Mm.
So with my business, I had a starter, me, but I didn't have the finisher. I had to create myself as a finisher. So it's been
Right.
definitely an interesting journey. I'm
Yeah.
glad I'm doing it, but
Right.
it's been interesting for sure.
Yeah,
So
there's
what
definitely self-discipline involved, in my opinion, in writing. Especially if you're not working with someone else giving you outside deadlines, you really have to, keep yourself on task, and that's not always easy.
Yeah, definitely. Now I noticed on your current book, the oh, showing to the wrong place. Okay.
No, it's right,
Well, where did I
right at
go?
the
Okay.
top. Never say sorry.
My
Yeah.
yeah, my mouse clicked to the wrong place. He never say sever in Deadwood. And here, what is this Deadwood Mystery Series reader notebook? What is this for? Is this like, if you're going to get the whole series, get this, or just get this anyway?
I have a lot of reader friends who love to keep track of everything, of details. And they take notes as they go, because we are 12 books into a series. And so rather than having to reread the whole series when I put a new book out, they like to make notes. And so they can just go read their notes onto what's going, about what's going on. And they make other kinds of notes, details, certain plot threads, all sorts of stuff. So what we thought we'd do, this was last Christmas time, was create a reader notebook that you could buy. And it has a lot of the art from the different books up through that, spaced on the pages. It has lines. It has, it's just basically a book to take all your notes in and keep it with your Deadwood books. So it's just kind of an extra fun thing that if you like to do that, you can order it, and you get it through my store, or you can get it through Amazon. And it's not real thick, because it's about 80 pages worth of just space for you to make notes on different stuff. Because when you write, what I've learned over the course of 12 books now, when you write a series, and mine is not individual story series, like you read this book, Agatha Christie, or something where it's Sherlock Holmes and each one is a different story with the characters just set for that story. What I write is ongoing character-driven series. So each book does have a story question that we answer by the end, and we wrap that particular part up. But there's an overall series arc, and each story fits within the series arc. So we're going along, and I might introduce something in book 4 that I'll come back to in book 7 and solve this little mystery I introduced way back in book 4. So I do that kind of thing throughout. You could pick up 12 and read it, and I've tested these with each book. You can pick that book up and read it, and I give you enough background information that you can understand who the characters are and read it as a standalone. However, the series really is best if you start at the beginning and you read through and you watch the character growth, for all the different characters and the series growth as you go. So the reader notebook just helps you keep track of that kind of stuff.
Wow, that is so amazing. Because to write that many books, I'm trying to formulate in my head, how do you put something like this together? How do you have the idea that where you're going to break it off? And then, hey, did you ever have feelings of, for example, when I put this book out there, people are going to be pissed off at me because I didn't close the loop over here?
Sometimes what I do think is, that they're going to wonder about that one, and they're going to be like, oh, and what did you, now we got to wait to see what happens with this.
Yeah.
But, having grown up watching series on television, and especially now streaming, I really love that whole feel of ongoing, series. And if it ends like the Marvel movies do, with kind of a little something thread that's going to lead you into the next one and get you excited, I love that, because to me it means it's going to keep going. The series is going to continue, and I won't have to feel sad that it's over. So I kind of like that feel, and that's kind of the thing with my stories. I will wrap up, the story question, like I said, what was going on, but there's more meat in there for another story that's coming. And I want it to kind of be, there's going to be more coming, and I can't wait to see what happens with so-and-so or how this works out, just that feel. And that's what I try to do throughout the, each book, because all the series are part of one big Anne Charles world. They all have characters that cross over. So there's a lot of crossover stuff. So if you read one series and then you're like, okay, well, now I'm going to start the next one and see what that's like, you will see characters from the other series in this book, or in this series too, which I think makes it fun.
That's awesome. My husband and I have been doing, just for the last couple of years, we've been like for an hour before we go to sleep at night, we'll watch a Netflix series, like one episode, right?
Right.
And we were watching, as you mentioned, Marvel. We were watching some of those Marvel shows, and for example, like The Flash is
Yeah.
in The Flash, and then there's characters from, well, this one called Arrow, and then from Supergirl that show up in The Flash. And then when you go
Right.
watch Arrow, you see those people showing up in that one. And
Yeah.
it really is like, it's weird because it's just a show, Lynda. And you're sitting there like, oh my God, there's so, and I they're my best friend. Like, I know them, they know me. I'm going to see them on the street and I'm going to recognize them. And they're going to be like, who's this weirdo?
I know who's
But
this.
just like you said, because what that does is, as the writer yourself, you're introducing us to different characters and different different of the series,
Right.
and then we get this opportunity to have that familiarity, right? Like, I remember this. Then we have to go through our mind. We're like, oh, what was that person like? And
Right. Right.
and then we just have to remember what we read. And sometimes, like, I'm the type, if I want to make sure I really remember, I will pull it out to read a little bit about, to remind myself or
Right.
refamiliarize myself.
Right.
Otherwise, I feel like I'm missing out on something. So I
Right.
just love it. That's so brilliant. Okay,
I
now I
know
want to go
it's
to, go ahead. Go
well,
ahead.
it's like I'll see something where they bring someone into a show that I know from the other show, and in my mind, it's that applause thing going on in the audience. Remember the applause? Everybody goes, "Yay!" hey, so and so's here, and then it's like, quiet down, let them act, let them do their part in this show. I even have, with the Deadwood series and the Jackrabbit series, there's the heroine's best friend in the Deadwood series is cousins with those who are in the Jackrabbit, the main, the
Go
Morgan
off.
sisters.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, are there?
I don't know if y'all can hear me because I'm not sure if my internet went off.
I can still hear you.
Ooh, something going on. Can somebody write something? If you can hear me, please write in the chat.
There.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Anne. Okay.
Yes. So
We're
anyway,
back.
in that, the two series, so you get a phone call in Deadwood 5, the first of Deadwood 5, where she's talking to her best friend Natalie, who's down at the Jackrabbit series at that, down in Arizona. And you get to read her side. And then when you go to the Jackrabbit book, which is like number 3 in that series, you have Natalie on the phone talking her part of that conversation, doing that, her part of the conversation. So it's really fun, if you read, and on my webpage, I do have all the books listed in series order and then in timeline order because they're all on the same timeline. So you can go to that and read the books in the timeline order if you want all the different books. And then you can watch.
So where would that be?
If you scroll to the bottom of that page,
okay,
the very bottom.
By the way, I love your website. I love how this is set up. Okay, so here we go.
Oh boy, I thought it was there. Okay, I need to go. Sorry, go hit the back to all books, and now go to the bottom. Okay. And down there on the side, you see a list of Anne's books. I can't see it as well. Read it as well on your thing. But
download Anne's entire book list.
So if you click that,
are you able to see where I just went to?
Yeah, I can. But
no, it pulled up. Okay, let me read because
it should pull up a PDF.
Yeah, I shared a different thing. That's why. So I want everybody to be able to see what we're looking at.
Okay.
That way, then, yeah, that's a great idea though. So yeah, if you like
all the, so if you scroll, that's all of them by series, but scroll down to the second page, I believe, of that, and here you go. Here we are by time. Chronological order. So Undertakers come first, of course, because they're in the 1870s. And then you can see the timeline of which books when. And so you can read them in that order and see how, everything mixes in.
Okay. And the 3.5, 1.5?
Those are shorts, like Deadwood shorts and Jackrabbit shorts. They're novellas or short stories that fall in between, and they don't necessarily, I didn't want to take up time in the main stories, the main mysteries and whatnot to fill you in on these things, but they give a lot of backstory, like Cold Flame, Deadwood Short 6.5. That tells the backstory of Violet's Aunt Zoe, who's a main character, and Reed Martin, who's this fire chief or fire captain, and what happened in the past that made it so that now when Reed shows up on Aunt Zoe's doorstep, she's not letting him in. She's got a gun and she's like, stay out of here. Don't come in my house. You read about their past relationship that made her so angry that she doesn't want him coming over her doorstep anymore, even though he's a nice guy. So yeah, it really kind of adds additional flavor to the characters and what's happened, but doesn't take time up out of the main mysteries, out of the main stories. So they're not just, they're not just fluff, just, filling stuff. Each of them have components that help show you characterization and that kind of a thing. But I do those periodically just to fill in, and then they fit in the timeline too, just like I showed. So you can read them in that order, or you can read them separate after you finish the series. It's your call.
That's so cool. Well, what I want to do next is we're going to go into the Deadwood series, and we're going to look here because the book that's out now is just recently, right? Never Say Sever in Deadwood. And I love how you on your on the covers, how you cross through the letter, like this one, devil days instead of evil days. I like how you do this. This is fun. And I think that just brings some of the, like your personality to the covers alone that helps people to see, a little bit more about the books. But I'm curious, like these titles, how do you come up with the titles? Are you one of those who comes up with the title and writes around it? Or do you come up with a title during it or at the end, or how do you come up with your titles?
I'm very much like you said. I really need a title to get started on the story. And it seems really
Hmm.
silly because you could plot and do all the stuff around it. But for some reason, my brain is like, we're not writing anything until you give us a title of what we're writing. And then, yeah, once I have a title, I kind of fit everything around that title. Even though I have an idea for the story that I'm going to write, I still need that title to really spring me into action. And they're so fun. The Deadwood books are really fun that way because you got to think of a title, and then how will I change that work? So like battling the heat being the police in this case, which is why the Deadwood
Hmm.
police station is behind her. So you battle the heat, but then if you change it to rattle, it still has meaning, but it kind of turns it, so she's not just battling them, she rattles them a little bit with what happens. So, the same
Right.
thing with a wild night versus it's a wild fright too. So I love the double meaning that I get to do because of the covers in that series.
Yeah, these are fun. I love it. Do you have purple boots yourself? I know
I
you wear boots.
do. I do because way back at my very first book signing, when the first two books were out in that series, my friends and coworkers and family all went together and bought these very expensive purple boots that I had been drooling over for well over a year. And they bought them for me so that I could wear them to my first book signing. So I do have those boots. They're amazing boots. And for that cost, they should be lasting this long. But I take really good care of them, and I keep them just for events, related to signings and stuff like that. That's the only time I'll really wear them. I'll wear them. I go to Deadwood every year for our Deadwood, we call it the Ann Charles Fan Party, where readers come in from everywhere because a lot of these books, the Deadwood books, are based off the real place. And so I will try to keep it true to the streets, the buildings, only except private residences. I don't do exactly, I have had people say, hey, my house is haunted if you want to use it in a book. And I think that's cool. But this next year's fan party in 2022, we're talking about doing bus tours where you get to go to each location that's in the different books. And so I don't think if you sell your house and somebody new buys it, I don't think they're going to want a bus stopping in front of their house and people pointing at it, So
Right.
I don't really do private residences, but I will use like the library and public buildings all the time.
I didn't even know Deadwood was a real place. I thought it was your fictional, location. So where is Deadwood located?
It's in western South Dakota in the Black Hills National Forest, and Calamity Jane, Wild Bill Hickok, all those people were real. Seth Bullock, and they were there. Wild Bill was killed there. Calamity Jane spent a lot of time there. There's just all kinds of people that were there, and it was a big mining town with the sister town Lead had the biggest gold mine in the Western Hemisphere for years and years and years. So it's all real. And the things I talk about in the book and the history are true for the most part, except where I add in fiction. So you can go to Deadwood once, if you read the books, or even if not, but you can go to Deadwood and you can walk the streets, you can see the stuff, you can live the history for real, but it's also in the
Hmm.
stories. So it's really fun.
Well, my history and geography teacher are going to be like, okay, I see why you didn't do very well history. And see, I even called it geometry instead of geography. I mean, that's not bad. So this is awesome. I love it. I love it. So we want to talk about, go to anncharles.com, check out the series of books and download that, that PDF that she has of the list and get them in that order, because that would make it more fun for you, I think. I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
saying that. I don't know, but I
No,
think
it
so.
would. I think it would be great that way. Of course, I didn't read them that way because I'm writing them, but I think it would be really fun to read the series, read them all that way, because then you can really watch the time as how things are happening in the different locations.
And then are all the locations, they're real locations in real life?
Well, Deadwood's real for the Old West version, the Undertaker and Deadwood Mystery. For the Jackrabbit
Jackrabbit,
Junction
is that real?
series, I set it I made a fictional town where the real life three-way town. It's a little junction town of Three-Way in southeast Arizona, right south of Morenci, which is a big copper mine town. So I've given fictional names to a location that's somewhat real, and I use the geography of that location, but I actually come up with all fiction stuff. And then the Dig Site series is archaeology, mystery, supernatural, and that takes place down in the Yucatan. So that is real, but I don't use set archaeological locations, because like Chichen Itza and that, because I wanted to be able to create my own dig sites and my own little, Maya places, and build my own temples and make the site what I wanted it to be. So each book, there's 2 so far, and I'm going to start the 3rd one in 3 books from now. And they each have fictional, these sites, but I do a ton of research. So they're very much like some of the real ones.
Okay. Are you an archaeologist? Are you into archaeology?
I really wanted to do that when I was
Okay.
younger. And I looked into it for college and took a couple classes, but then I realized there's way too much writing. So I said, that's too much writing. So
I'm going to be
instead
a writer instead.
I write books now. Yeah, right. So the irony of that. But I did really want to do that for a long time. And I still get archaeology magazines, and I'm still really I watch movies or shows about it. So I love that. Then I had kids, and you just can't, it's hard to be an archaeologist if you have a family, I think, unless they go with you. But it's just not an easy thing to do if you have kids and a family. So I didn't ever really pursue that.
That's awesome. Now, have you been to Chichen Itza?
No,
Did I say it right?
I've been to Mexico
Okay.
several times, but I've not been down there. It's a dream of mine. I've read extensively. I read journals and blogs and books about it all the time, watch movies. So I will get there, but now I'm to the point of waiting till my kids are a little bit older and they don't need to go with us. Because as much as I love my children, I don't want to take them along on dig site stuff. I'm thinking it's not going to be as fun for them as it would be for me. So,
Mom, can we go now?
I am hot. Can we go? You're like,
exactly.
So
I love it. Well, this is awesome. I love what you're doing. I think your book series is. I asked earlier, is that a word? The series of books that you're writing, they all sound very intriguing, fun. You're just inserting your personality, and I love the titles. That right there just got me. And I think the title, the title, and if you don't see the cover, then what do you have? You have the title. And so the title really has to hook people enough for them to want to go look further. And so congratulations on that. And I'm the same way, like all the books that I've done so far, the title came and I said, oh, that's a great title. I'm going to write a book around it.
Right.
That comes first. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then something I didn't mention is the covers. My brother does the cover art for all the covers, and he also does illustrations within them. So, and then my husband takes the original art, because he does it with pencils, colored pencils and whatnot. And then my husband takes the original art, scans the pieces, and builds the covers with the original art. So that's why the wonderful thing I have going is that I have original, except for the Deadwood shorts, which we do use we use, stock photos. Otherwise, all the covers for the different series are, my brother's art and my husband's graphic art skills together, which is really fun. So it's a family affair.
Family affair. Yeah. It's a family affair. There you go. Well, good. This is just so cool. And do you do, because you had mentioned the book signings, during COVID, were you doing any virtual book signings, or what have you done during COVID?
I did some of my own. I didn't really travel anywhere because of COVID, of course. But what I did was I would do live events, Facebook, that we'd put onto YouTube and different venues. And I'd advertise ahead of time. I'm going to do a book signing, go to my Ann Charles store, because I do have a store, an online store that you can go buy the books. And you can, if you go to my homepage, you can see it there down just a little bit. And it's called the AC online store, I think. So if you click home up at the top.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, that's okay. And then right there, Shop Ann Charles. So if you click on that, Shop Ann Charles,
Okay.
You can go to my store, and what I do autograph books. If you want a certain autograph for like a gift for someone, I can do that. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, so I did the book signings using my online store that they would buy from the store, and then they would be online with me and tell me what they want me to write, or tell me ahead of time, and then I could be talking to them online while I did the whole online book signing event. And we did a few of those. It was really fun. It was busy. Kept me really busy. It was
Is
wonderful.
that instead of dearly departed, nearly departed? There
Yeah.
we go. Autograph trade. There we go. So you purchase the autograph copy, and then she'll send that out to you. That's great. I love that. I think that's a brilliant way to do it. Because we had to make our way through COVID somehow, and
Right.
figuring out how we can continue our own craft and making it happen. So
Right.
congratulations on that. That's
Oh,
fantastic.
thanks.
Is
Well, yeah,
is there?
I was
Go
just
go
gonna say
ahead.
we set it up for um, ebooks, print books, and we're gonna get on their audiobooks as well that you can buy through the store if you want. And when you order from me, it might take a little longer. I do try to do USPS priority mail, but I do include some fun extras usually, with each shipment. So it's
Mhm.
kind of fun.
You don't put like dead animals or anything in there, do you?
No dead animals at this time.
Okay. Not at this time. See, she did have a disclaimer. You see that? She did put that disclaimer in there just in case.
Just in case.
Fantastic. Well, go to AnnCharles.com. It's Ann with no E, just
Right.
ANN Charles.com. Go get some of those books, buy them all, buy the whole thing, buy the whole kit and caboodle. And I was going to ask you a question. Oh, what is if somebody's looking at doing what you're doing, what would be their first action step you would recommend for them to take?
You mean doing multiple series
Yeah.
and the whole shebang?
Yeah.
Whew. You just start writing good books, and keep in mind that you're tying the series together, and keep really detailed notes on series, because when you have people binge reading you, you cannot screw up uh different you can't be inconsistent, whether it's about plot threads or character eye color, vehicles they drive. I work with a world keeper that she keeps very detailed notes on each of my books, and the whole series is in general for each series, so that I can go through and say, okay, what did I say back in book 3 he was driving, and why did he stop driving that? So then I can go back and look, because if you're reading these 6 months to a year apart, you're going to forget those details. But when you binge read, you remember every detail. And I have some wonderful readers that'll come in and say, I discovered you a week ago, and I finished your whole Deadwood series already, and now I'm going into Jackrabbit, and I love them. So I prepare for that. I don't prepare for the individual reader who might forget something. I try to prepare for those binge readers that are going to come through and read you all at once. So start out thinking the long game. Don't think short game.
Mm.
Think about the long game in marketing, the long game in your series, and build baby steps at a time, brick by brick.
And that's a great point there about the marketing, right? The marketing game, because you don't just write a book and people just all buy it. It doesn't happen that way. You do
Right.
got to sell the book.
Right. Marketing's
Yes.
huge.
Yeah. So I love that how you mentioned, thinking of the long game, because if you're going to write, whether you're going to write a series of books or you're going to write a bunch of series is of
Right.
books, you just got to think about that long game. Well, thank you, Anne, so much for being here. Like, wow, that time flew by, because normally I do like 20 minutes. It's like 40 minutes. That's
Oops.
because yeah, no, it's good though, because it's just so interesting. I could go on and on, just keep asking you questions, because I just find it fascinating what you're doing.
Oh,
And
thanks.
when I looked on your website, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be an amazing interview. And I knew it would be. So,
We'll have to
thank
do
you
it
so
again.
much.
We'll have to get back
Yeah.
together and talk more about other stuff too. It's really fun. You've been great. So it's
Oh,
been really
thank you.
fun.
Thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate you being here today. And, everybody, again, go to AnnCharles.com. Go check out her books. Again, look at that PDF download that she has on her homepage, and just check it out and go one at a time. Buy them all at one time, so that way you can binge read the whole thing. Oh my gosh, I'm a slow reader, so that to me sounds scary.
That's a lot of reading. They'll keep you
Yeah, it's a
busy.
lot of that's for sure, for a couple of years, because I'm a slow reader. I'm not that slow, but yeah, yeah. Maybe I'm not that slow. Anyway, but I digress. So thank you so much for being here today, Anne. I truly appreciate you. Keep doing what you're doing, just like that one publisher said, and just keep pushing this out there. And I'm excited to see where you go. And then we'll bring you back in like about a year from now to see
Yeah.
what you've been doing in that period of time. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Well, thank you
Uh,
again for having me on today.
You're welcome. Have a great day, everybody. Again, go to AnnCharles.com. And if you're going to just start with one, start with the Deadwood series. Otherwise, go run through the whole shit and
Awesome.
caboodle. That's the word I really meant.
That's the word
Because
you meant.
see, you would just change the kit to shit in
Yeah,
your book.
exactly. I would. You're just using my covers. Yeah, so that's perfect.
Awesome. Everybody have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Bye bye now.